So UX research. So when we're referring to UX research, we want to walk a mile essentially in the user's shoes. So it's not our shoes, because maybe I don't shop at a particular, or I don't go to a particular website. Maybe it's on a genre of music, maybe it's music in general. You know, for instance, lots of people last year at one point had done some sites for like different K-pop bands, and that's most definitely not up my alley. So you would need to know where things are placed and why things are designed that way in order to do that well. So just because it's not up my alley, that's where that research comes in handy. So we know that UX is all about making products that are purposeful, easy to use, and are also enjoyable to use. We want people to be overall satisfied with their experience with the product. So no matter how hard we try, people will use or misuse those products we create in ways that we never saw coming. That's where we use that UX research. So say myself and my husband or your friend, you're like, oh, I would always, for instance, in a nutshell, say in the kitchen, I would put my coffee mugs over where the coffee maker is because it makes sense. And I would think that everybody else would do that. And then someone comes over and they're like, why did you put them above your coffee maker, but you put your milk in first? Why wouldn't you put them across from your refrigerator type thing? So that's where the research comes in handy, because you're like, oh, well, I didn't think of it that way. So you're getting into what the masses will think versus what your own biased opinion would think. Or if anybody's moved in with someone for the first time and you kind of get in banters over what goes where, because I know when I moved in with my husband, we had a few of those. Arming yourself with as much data as you can at the onset of a project will help you make more informed decisions and arguable decisions. So when you're presenting the work and they're asking you why it's here, it's like, here's the research. So user research is all about getting to the bottom of what makes that target tick. So what does the user think? What motivates them? What frustrates them? We can utilize user research by observing the user perform tasks and getting feedback from them. Quantitative research. So quantitative research can be defined as the creation of statistical and numerical data, so and analytical data. So quantitative data is counting and measuring and interpreting to find patterns and commonality with numbers and charts. If anybody has ever by chance looked at the back end through Google Analytics of a website, it kind of looks like this, and that's where you're looking at where those clicks are happening. This is where you're looking at, okay, well, no one's going to this page and I wonder why. So we need to get down to the reason why that's happening. At one point, I'll also show you there's a website, or there's a company called Hotjar. And you can literally see like a heat map of a website. So you can see that everyone immediately goes to the top right corner, or everybody immediately goes down here. So if there's something important that's, say, sitting in an area that no one's clicking, then obviously we need to maybe move it to where those hot spots are. Or it's super creepy. You can actually, in fact, go to a website and literally see people all over the world where they're clicking in the website, like live. You just see their mouse moving and it makes like a weird line pattern. So I'll show you that in another class. So in UX, the common source for quantitative data is through web product analytics, such as obviously Google Analytics. It provides many types of data as we can analyze, interpret, and make assumptions by. And then this way we can measure and observe the results from several sources through those analytics, and then obviously use that to make decisions about the web product. Qualitative research deals with the behavioral assessment of a product, kind of like through usability testing like we've done. How a person feels or reacts is insight to understanding their belief system and techniques. Qualitative research methods consist of many tools and techniques, including testing, focus groups, etc. And then a great technique is to get a clear picture of the user and the motivations. It's really good to do person to person. Obviously, that's not, hasn't been possible for 2 years, but obviously online as well. The best way to get a clear picture of the user is by using a balance of both qualitative and quantitative. So you can essentially reflect your testing, what that you've done in person, to the testing you see on the back end, etc. I won't bother playing this video. You folks can take a look at that. It's a little bit more into quantitative data. Types of UX research methods. So every web product contains various characteristics that make it unique. So thankfully, there's several types of UX research at your disposal to use depending on the type of product that you're obviously producing. I won't bother reading through all of these, but there's tons of different ways. Have you guys heard of focus groups? I imagine you probably have in different ways. Focus groups on, you know, why people don't like the city they live in, why people don't want a building to go somewhere. But the same thing goes for focus group for a website. There's card sorting, which is essentially what you see here. This is a great way if you say, I'm going to be making a website for my new band. I want to figure out what pages should be there. So there's two types of card sorting. You can essentially give it to them. You could say you're going to have an about page, a merch page, and then they're going to lay it all out in the order. So the sticky notes are essentially your navigation that you see across the website. A/B testing, eye tracking, etc. So tons of different ways. All the methods can yield both qualitative and quantitative data and provide the best results when they're obviously used together. And many more testing methods in existence. It's easy to see how that and why that UX research field is massive, especially for the big guns, the big giant websites. So when we do user interviews, so a user interviews allows a designer to get a one-on-one feel for the potential users' assumptions, their beliefs, their attitudes, experiences. Who's using the products? That also depends on where you want to get that research from. You probably want to get a broad range of it from, you know, the people that are, you know, the company that's running it. Then obviously as well the users. There could be two users. There could be, you know, the customer. There could be the business owner. Etc. So this could be a big job all on its own. Usually done obviously online, but these days, nope, video is where it's at. So user interviews are usually done at the start of a project, typically combined with other UX research methods. These types of research help frame questions for surveys to probe deeper into those motivations. A lot of times you figure out what the pain points are. You know, what don't you like about this? What do you feel it's lacking? You know, where do you think it could improve, etc. So they're usually not too long, 15 to 30 minutes. We have around 5 to 15 questions. Before conducting, make sure we consider the objectives of the website, but that's also something that we ask. Those could ask when we're interviewing, if we're interviewing you know, the marketing director of that company who's building that website, you know, what are their objectives? And then know what you want to learn from the user to help facilitate those design decisions. And obviously that helps facilitate the questions you're going to ask. We have a consistent set of questions for each participant to help analyze and reveal the pattern. So we don't, kind of like the usability testing, we don't ask a million different questions to each person. We ask the same set. Obviously, we keep things neutral. We don't want to influence. If we see a big glaring error in something and we're going to interview someone and ask them what the error is, I'm not going to say, so what do you think of that red? It's pretty bad, huh? We're not going to say anything like that. We want to make sure that they form their own opinion. Ask a lot of whys to keep that conversation going as well. The user interview can utilize video, audio, pen, paper, obviously to capture. We always must or should record so we can circle back, transcribe what we need done, and obviously always making sure we have permission to. So it could take on many forms depending on the project at hand. These skills, these types of fields in the UX are typically high paid, skilled positions, imperative to achieving the success of any web product. So it might not be for everyone, but you'd be surprised kind of how fun it can be to dive a little bit deeper and see what people are really thinking. I find a lot of people that perhaps maybe went to school previously, have psych majors, or really like diving in, you know, getting deep down into what people are thinking. They enjoy that side of web